Thank you for joining us today for the Conformed to Christ podcast, where we seek to engage the mind, affect the heart, and call people to follow Christ. My name is George Mays, and here with me is Jay Jones.
Hello, George Mays. It's Free for All Friday.
It is.
I think today's going to be a true Free for All Friday.
Yeah, I think so. I'm looking at some stuff, and I was having to compose myself before the intro.
Yeah, some out there stuff today.
Yeah.
We will be creating content in real time. That's what I told you. We're creatives now.
Are we?
Yeah, creatives. Well, before we jump in, George, I got something special for you.
Oh,
I got something special for you and for the people.
Oh boy!
All right.
What is that? Oh no! What is?
I got a little surprise for you,
What is happening here? I don't know what's going on.
George.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what, buddy. When you told me that you've never had sushi,
Oh no!
I said, all right, we're fixing this, and we're going to fix this on air.
Oh no!
On air. We're fixing this on air. So not only did I go get some sushi, but, man, they got me with the suggestive shopping.
What is that?
Some cheesecake.
Oh my goodness!
I ended up with that.
You just grabbed,
We may have to-
grabbed some cheesecake.
We'll have to save that for after the podcast. But
Okay.
let me tell you,
All right.
George.
So where is this from?
this is from Homeland.
Okay.
Now, you might be
Where the-
scared. You might be scared because you think
That's where all good sushi comes from, Homeland.
sushi from a grocery store. But
Uh-huh.
let me tell you what, George, I'm this is politically incorrect warning. Okay, if you're easily triggered, it's time to turn it off. Because when I go into a grocery store and I see a Japanese man making sushi,
Uh-huh.
I'm like, I'm all in on that.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
When I heard there was sushi at Homeland and I went to investigate,
Uh-huh.
I said, there's no way I'm eating sushi from Homeland. Not a chance.
Yeah.
But then when I saw the dude, this is legit sushi, bud.
Okay. All right.
In fact, I went in there today and I talked to him. He said, what are you looking for? And I won't do the accent because I'm not that culturally inappropriate.
Yeah.
But I said, well, here's what I got. I got a guy who's never had sushi before.
Uh-huh.
Because he's got like level 1 through 4 sushi in there. Like some stuff that you're going to want to get into.
Okay.
I said, he's never
Okay.
had it. He's kind of scared of it. So how about just like, I don't see it around here, but what about just like spicy salmon? This is like beginner sushi. He said, I'll make it for you.
Okay.
He made it.
So he made it. So this
He
is
made
fresh?
this like 15 minutes ago
Okay.
for you
Wow. Okay.
by hand.
All right.
If you want the sushi, I don't trust them white folks making sushi.
Yeah. So
Right.
this is the place to go in Lawton.
Yeah, yeah. I'm when I go food, I go full on politically incorrect.
Okay.
Right. I want some good barbecue in Kansas City. I'm looking for the blackest dude ever to make my barbecue.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Hopefully some of his sweat will fall in on my barbecue while he makes it. Right? And if I want German food, George,
Yeah.
I want to be kind of offended by the waitress because I know she's authentically German.
Okay. Okay.
Like she needs to be a little bit mean to me.
Yeah.
So I know my German food is legit German food.
Okay.
I want it made by a German.
Yeah.
Right? This is the way of true food I'm teaching you.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
Don't get caught up in political. You want to be politically incorrect.
Is anyone ever going to see this episode?
I don't know. I keep it real on here. I just
Yeah.
speaking real truth.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, I do.
I'm trying to teach people,
Uh-huh.
right? I want people to enjoy the good things of this world, and God has built in diversity, right?
Right.
So I don't want any sushi made by some white guy.
Okay.
I want the real thing.
Yeah. All right.
And you're about to get the real thing right here.
Okay. So what is this that you're putting on it?
This is a little soy sauce for you.
Okay.
I know your palate's familiar with a little soy sauce, right?
Yeah.
So here you go.
All right.
I'm gonna do that.
We've become a culinary podcast now.
All right, George. I'm gonna pass
Just branching
it around.
out.
You don't have to go. I'll show this. Look at it. Look how artistic this guy is with this stuff. Here we go.
All right.
George.
All right.
What you want to do is just put the fork in, put one whole one in your mouth at one time.
Okay. It's
Live on the podcast.
the camera is going to be on me the entire time.
You got to experience new things, George. Get that.
Move this a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
No one wants to hear me chewing.
Huh? George, you're surprised, aren't you? Tell us what you think about it. You got to describe it for the listener because some people aren't watching; they're listening.
All right. Well, I'm sure they're really enjoying this.
Oh, they are.
Oh, that's really good. All right. Okay, you won me over.
I did.
Yeah,
I knew it would. You just have to get past the initial
Okay.
shock of like, hey, I'm about to eat raw meat because that's raw salmon.
Right.
It's good, right?
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good.
I'm gonna have some too.
You're gonna have some here.
Oh yeah, I'm having one.
All right, here you go.
That's the good stuff, bud. Don't be shy. Mm-hmm.
Welcome to Free for All Friday, where you guys just get to watch us eat. That's
Now, I know you guys, if you're listening, you're like, Homeland, I got it. Just go in there, talk to the guy, and you'll see he's the real deal. That's good stuff. That is good stuff, friend. We'll save the cheesecake for later. So what do we got today, George? While I'm eating, you can tell me what we got.
all right. That's pretty good.
Uh-huh. I knew it.
All right. Yeah, that's good. What is this? What is this spicy mustard? Is that what that is?
I don't know. That's seaweed and rice and some type of spicy drizzle, mustard or something. I don't know.
Is that wasabi right there in the
There
corner?
is wasabi in the corner.
Right
If you want to put a little on, make it a little more spicy.
a little.
Yeah. Just a little go a long ways.
I remember the first time I had wasabi, and I thought I was going to pass out.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, this looks good, and just stuck a
Oh, yeah.
spoonful in my
You
mouth.
got to be careful.
Like I was getting tunnel vision. That's how bad it was. That's hot.
Oh yeah. That'll clear your nose. If you got like a nasal infection.
That will clear any bad memories you have from like the last 10 years. If you eat enough wasabi.
Will it make me forget the last 3 years of COVID?
That's right. Yeah. I think this is how you fight off COVID, isn't it? Have a bunch of wasabi.
Mm-hmm.
While Jay and I are chewing on here, I'm sure everyone is really glad they tuned in today.
Mm-hmm.
Some videos have been surfacing, and they've been making their rounds. These are from years ago. One of them was 2018. I think the video I'm about to show you is from 2015. I don't know where these have been my entire life, Jay, to tell you the truth.
I know. There are a few things, like I feel like we have a pretty good handle on the weird videos that are out there.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the church worship stuff, like there's a lot of really weird worship, especially like singing.
Yeah.
And where did this come from? Where has it been hiding?
I don't know. This is from Church of the Rock in Winnipeg. Leave it to those, I don't know, leave it to the Canadians, I guess.
Maybe that's why.
Maybe. I guess every year for Easter they put on a show. Now, I grew up Southern Baptist. I'm used to cantatas. The choir puts on, a show. There might even be some drama with it, but nothing like this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me just show it, and then we can talk about it. I just don't even want to set it up. Am I turned up? Okay.
Yeah, you should be up.
All right, let's watch it.
Okay, Doc. All right, time circuit's on.
Back to the future theme.
Cruising. Engine running. Let's
What
go,
in the world?
Jesse. We're ready. We're ready, Doc.
So stupid. Oh, please no. I can't handle it. George.
Oh, it gets better. Let me
George,
let me find
you got to
this.
describe
Let me find this.
Hang
Let
on.
me find this other
You
one.
got to describe to the listener what we just saw.
Okay, so we just saw the we just saw the scene in Back to the Future where Marty is trying to get back to his present.
Yeah. He's trying to
And-
hook up the the cable to the clock tower.
Yeah, you got so Doc is trying to make sure that the lightning strikes the clock tower
Yeah.
and it powers the flux capacitor and he
Yeah.
takes off. For some reason, Doc is in the car and I guess Marty is on the clock. In this
backwards.
one, it's backwards. But when the lightning strikes and the DeLorean takes off
Yeah.
back to the future, Marty on the clock, he acts like he's Jesus.
Yeah, he
And
puts his arms out like he's
Uh-huh.
been crucified
Right.
and the lights go out.
Yeah. Right.
So weird, dude.
Oh, but there's more, Jay. There's a little bit more. Gotta show a little
Is this
bit more.
the same place?
The same place, same Easter
They
program.
must have
The
a
back-
lot. They have a lot of money because they had like lightning on the stage. They had like a
They
Tesla.
had like
they had
fire. They had fire. Yeah.
yeah, and a Tesla coil or something. You know those Tesla coils
Yeah.
that make the lightning go? They
Uh-huh.
they had one somewhere.
I don't know. All right, this is even better though. It's the same. It's the same thing. I'm assuming this is the end. Make sure that the volume is up so that we can hear this. And here we go.
They're dancing.
Maybe.
They're
There we
go.
This man was ice cold, placed in the tomb to save his soul. This song for them hood girls, for the whole world, straight masterpieces. Teaching about sin, forgiving the lost in the city. Got nailed down across the
Dude.
town, but now he's back and he's living. Got caught, hey man.
Hey. I mean, let me just put a little plug for some diversity in your church. If they had had some black folk up in that church, they'd have been like, guys, this is a bad idea. This is a bad idea. But this is Canada, right?
I guess you get a bunch of Canadians, and this is what you get. So,
Oh goodness,
I don't know.
It's so cringe, so cringe.
I'm doing slow mo through the video, and the dancing is on point.
It's super duper cringe, man.
It's real good. This is real.
Like who sits there? How do you sit around and think like, hey, here's a good idea for Easter? Let's dance to this song. I don't know who is that. Who is that sings that song?
I don't even know. I don't know. pretty lame.
I'm looking it up.
I
gotta look this up.
I want to go back to the screen. I want everyone to just focus on the guy who's playing Doc right back there. Like that's the worst. That's the worst wig I've ever seen.
When this was this year?
No,
that song is
this
recent.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought that I saw it was 2015. I could be wrong.
Maybe.
Well, anyway, there's more. There's one from 2018 with the Avengers. They did one for The Lion King, and they did one with Toy Story. And they are all really, really bad. What are you looking up here?
I'm
Jay?
trying to see who sang this song. Trying to figure it out.
I don't know.
Yeah, the song is where is it?
Oh, they did. It looks like they did Pirates of the Caribbean also. Yeah. So, anyway, there's a church in Winnipeg that puts on these Easter programs every year, and I guess that's.
Oh, no.
I guess that's what they think is.
This song is Uptown Funk.
That was Uptown Funk.
Yeah,
Was it really?
and I just as I Google it, I say, what is this song about? This person writes, it's entirely about selling Coke.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like we should do that song for Easter.
Right.
Seems like a great idea.
Uh-huh. Right. Yeah, so this is
They're just
what-
redeeming the song,
this is-
George. They're just redeeming all things, aren't they?
I guess. Yep. So I don't really have any any commentary for that. If people have been listening to us long enough, they know how we feel about that kind of stuff. Here's the
Avengers.
Here's the Avengers one. I won't play the video, but there's the Tony
right.
Stark is.
You just try to describe what you're seeing. How can you even
Tony
describe
Stark is he is on a beam,
a construction
beam. I guess he's supposed to be the Jesus in this scenario. Loki is there. The Loki costume is not too bad.
Yeah.
But those, I guess those are Ultron bots. I don't know. But
I don't know what they are either. Maybe they're Chitauri.
That's real bad.
They're Chitauri. No, they're Chitauri. Those are the Chitauri.
That's real bad.
Mm-hmm.
You've got confused Black Widow and Thor, and I guess it's Captain America, and then some lady in a business attire.
Who is that?
I don't know who that is. Yeah,
George.
this is what they think is going to glorify God the most.
When will this type of thing die? Like, I figured it was going to be dead. Like, I thought it was dead. Like this super attractional, like
Uh,
model. You know what I mean? But it's still kicking, dude. Like we have it here in Oklahoma with the movies, but it's a summertime thing. They usually don't do it around Easter. It's like it's a whole month, isn't it? It's like the church at the movies. It's like a whole month.
Yeah, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Life Church does it.
Yeah.
Goodness, I don't know. I can't, with the way that the culture is going, I cannot see this kind of church model lasting much longer. I don't see why, because this is really corny.
Oh yeah.
I mean, this is real bad.
Uh-huh.
And I just can't see people taking time to go and see something like this.
So here's kind of another angle,
And there's no depth. There's no depth.
Well, that's what
to this.
that's what I'm getting at, right? Like, say you're not a Christian, maybe, and you're like, man, the past 3 years they've been terrible.
Yeah.
I'm looking for some type of answers for, like, I've had a lot of suffering these past 3 years. You know what? I think I'll finally go to church.
It's Easter. This is, I really feel convicted to go to church.
And then instead of getting answers and hearing the gospel, you get Tony Stark up on a piece of debris hanging up like he's. Like
you get this. I haven't seen this one. Let's watch this one. I haven't seen this one. This is Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh no!
This
is not the same church. Can't be.
This is the same church. I have not seen this. I don't know what we're about to see.
This is what happens when the drama team takes over your church.
Yeah. All right.
Whoa! Is that really Johnny Depp? Look at him.
How far he's fallen.
It actually looks like they got him.
Disney fired him because of all this abuse allegations, and now he's doing.
Does that not look like
Church
him,
of the Rock in Winnipeg? Okay, let me play this.
Right.
Let me play this.
Maybe.
Then what do I do with Jack?
String him up! String him up!
So stupid. Oh no! Please don't.
So Jack Sparrow has been strung up on the mast, and he is being crucified. So
on the Black Pearl.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Mega.
Really, really dramatic.
Dude, mega cringe. Mega cringe.
Wow.
So this is what happens.
It is finished. Did you hear him?
Then what do I do with Jack?
Gather yourself, man.
Who in this church's musical leadership was like, when I think of the cross, I think of Jack Sparrow.
Yeah.
We might need to move on after that one.
Well, here's what it is. I mean, if you're wondering, like, what is this? What do we make of this stuff? I mean, it really is very simple. It comes down to a belief by them. Now, they probably will not even come out and articulate it in the open, right? If you sit down with them at a table and discussing their view of, like, what their beliefs are about Scripture, they're not going to come out and tell you, well, you see, George, I just believe the Scriptures are insufficient.
Mm.
Or they're not going to say to you, George, well, you see, I just believe that the gospel itself proclaimed and preached to a sinner is insufficient to save somebody. They'll never say that to you. But what they'll do is they'll put on these shows with Jack Sparrow and, the Avengers and, Marty McFly. That is a demonstration that no matter what they would say to you, about what they believe, what they do demonstrates what they believe.
Right.
And so what they're doing on Easter demonstrates they don't believe the Scriptures are sufficient.
Yeah.
They don't believe the gospel is the power of God to salvation.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Paul says, I'm not ashamed of the gospel, it's the power of God to salvation. Well, they think apparently drama
Right.
is the power of God to salvation. So they out with the preaching of the gospel, in with the drama team.
Yeah. This is the new rhetoric.
Yeah.
This is so in Paul's day, especially in Corinth, but around Greece, these people would go around and they'd practice rhetoric, and we talked about this.
Mm-hmm.
When did we talk about this? Last week?
Maybe so. We might have talked about it a little bit.
We talked about them using rhetoric and how it didn't matter if what they said was true. It was just how they said it. Could they convince people?
I don't know that we talked about it on the podcast. We definitely talked about it because we were talking about a particular pastor's Easter sermon where he made like several actually incorrect biblical statements,
Mm-hmm.
like that Jesus or that the angels knew what was going to happen with
Right.
Jesus,
Right.
that Jesus knew exactly what it felt like to be crucified beforehand. Again, like these are theologically wrong statements. And we were discussing how, well, why do people that, we know are able to understand and grasp the Scriptures, why do they stay and tolerate it?
Mm-hmm.
And you said, and we talked about it, the rhetoric.
Right.
They're there for the rhetoric.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think we had that discussion on here, but that's definitely true. That this is kind of the thing. This is what you see.
But this is what Paul is dealing with in Corinth. There are people in the Corinthian church who look at Paul and they listen to him and they say, this is not impressive.
Mm-hmm.
This is not the kind of rhetoric that we're used to. This is not what we are interested in, because they were interested in the world's wisdom, the world's power. What does the world find attractive? What does the world find convincing? And Paul says, I'm not going to have anything to do with that.
Right.
And I think that these words from 1 Corinthians chapter 1 apply to this, to these churches that put on these shows that try to attract people. They're co-opting secular songs and they're putting bad Christianized lyrics, like cheesy Christianized lyrics to them. And I think that Paul would say the same thing to them. He says, for Christ did not send me to baptize, but to preach the gospel, and not with words of eloquent wisdom, rhetoric,
Right.
lest the cross of Christ be emptied of its power. For the word of the cross is folly to those who are perishing, but to us who are being saved, it is the power of God. For it is written, I will destroy the wisdom of the wise, and the discernment of the discerning I will thwart. Where is the one who is wise? Where is the scribe? Where is the debater of this age? Has not God made foolish the wisdom of the world? For since in the wisdom of God the world did not know God through wisdom, it pleased God through the folly of what we preach to save those who believe. For Jews demand signs and Greeks seek wisdom, but we preach Christ crucified, a stumbling block to Jews and folly to Gentiles, but to those who are called, both Jews and Greeks, Christ, the power of God and the wisdom of God. For the foolishness of God is wiser than men, and the weakness of God is stronger than men.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that's exactly what's going on in these churches. They think that they're wiser than God. They think that they're wise. And so how are we going to draw people in? And if you do the Avengers one year, you're going to have to top it next year.
Yeah.
Like you can't do Avengers again. People have already seen it. So you've got to do something else, and you got to keep doing something more. And all it does is it gets you away from just the clear, plain, powerful preaching of the cross.
Yeah. Eventually, you got to crucify actual man.
Hey,
Right? They do that in some countries.
yeah.
Everybody goes and watch.
Well, you can just look up some of the things that have been done. We've seen Ed Young Jr. He's preached a sermon series on marriage, and him and his wife were on this bed up on top of the church.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He's driven I think he's driven like a Corvette out on the stage. I've seen motorcycle tricks. There's been churches that have turned their auditoriums into bull riding arenas. And you didn't believe me. You just kind of threw it out in jest. But there is fight church.
Yeah, yeah.
That, like, pastors
Fight
doing
each other. Yeah.
cage fighting.
Yeah.
So
George,
there's,
maybe we'll top them all and shoot a gun in church.
Oh yeah.
We can put a target up there,
Uh-huh.
and we'll have to put up like some type of ballistic material behind it to protect the city.
Yeah.
But we will be cutting edge,
That's right.
and probably 100 people will get saved.
Yeah.
We'll hand out earplugs when people come in.
Yeah.
We'll say these earplugs are not for the music;
Yeah.
they're for a little surprise.
Yeah, I mean, there's churches that do they do hand out
Yeah, they do.
earplugs because of the music.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll hand out sushi, and I'll shoot a gun from the pulpit. Huh?
Yeah.
You got to think outside the box, George. That's
I
what
guess
your
so.
problem
I
is.
guess so. Yeah. If we're gonna top the TIE Fighter church down the street, we're gonna have to do something.
Well, we don't have to do anything. Our church just
I'm just waiting to see.
grows. Our church just has been growing for
Yeah.
and I think it's just going to continue to grow because when people start to like have problems in their life, that stuff's not what they want. They want to come here. They want to come hear what God's word has to say about something. You know what I mean?
Well, things like this with these corny, just bad costumes, and this corny, crucifying Tony Stark and crucifying Jack Sparrow. What this does is it's communicating to the audience, we think you're dumb.
Yeah.
We don't think that you can sit still and listen to a sermon for 45 minutes or an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got to give you this.
Yeah.
We've got to do, I would not doubt if there's people munching on popcorn in the congregation while this is going on.
Mm-hmm.
It's saying to the people, we don't think that you're ready for this. The word of God isn't enough.
There's a big difference. It always comes down to who do you think God is? Are we here to worship God, or are we here to put a performance on for man? Like, is this what we're doing on Sunday for you, or is it for man? Now, I think worship, and I think it's correct, is for God. We're worshiping God. We get a great benefit from that because what we're doing is what we were created by God to do. And it's not that we don't want non-believers to be present, but when they come, like if a non-believer comes to our church, our goal is that they would be struck by a sense that this is something different from the rest of their entire life.
Yeah.
So they come, and I think mission accomplished. You come to our church, why are they praying so much? Why they're reading the Bible? Like, no one reads the Bible in church anymore. You know what I mean? Like, we have a dedicated time to read the Bible, and we stand up, but to honor, like you would stand up if a king came in the room. Nobody's going to sit down. Well, hear the word of God, stand up. So you're struck by, like, this is something different from everything else in my life. And then hopefully they get a sense of the majesty of God.
Right.
When I visited R.C. Sproul's church shortly before he died, I told you before, but the listener they may have never heard this. There's a section, like everybody talks, like before church starts, you're in your pews, whatever. Somebody gets up, they say, "We are about to worship the one true living God. Please observe a moment of silence." And everybody it's like so quiet, super quiet. For like 2 minutes straight, there's nothing but silence. And they tell you in the bulletin that's there so that we can leave our regular life and prepare to enter into the presence of God together.
Yeah.
It's very powerful. But again, that's not what you get at 99% of churches.
Yeah. It goes back to the text-driven Tuesday, immature Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
And the churches, I mean, this ultimately falls on the pastor. Like, why is the pastor not saying, we're not crucifying Tony Stark on this Lord's Day?
Right.
Right. But immature pastors who are giving milk to immature Christians, it keeps them immature. They do things like this, and then COVID hits and the government is shutting churches down and they're arresting pastors. And what are these Christians going to do?
Mm-hmm.
They're probably not going to stand. They'll probably crumble.
Yeah.
When you're on your deathbed or someone close to you has cancer and is on their deathbed, what do you want?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to reminisce about how corny these Chitauri costumes are? You remember that time we crucified Jack Sparrow? Or do you want the comfort that only comes from the gospel?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, for the next segment, George, how about we talk about the idea of a mind virus? You ever hear this?
I have heard it, but I don't know. I don't know very much.
Well, we will discover together. So, a mind virus. First time I ever heard this was actually Elon Musk. He described wokeism as a mind virus, and actually a harmful mind virus that's detrimental to society. So if you're not familiar with the idea of wokeism or what it is to be woke, I think the best way to describe it would be a unhealthy obsession with the things of race. That the idea of race is your grounding foundation for the way you look at everything in the world. And in America today, wokeism is that everything is driven by white supremacy.
Mm-hmm.
I sent you something that's a kind of a good example of what it is to have your mind infected by the wokeism virus.
Yeah, you did.
I think it's one of the best in recent memory.
Now, you said you responded. I responded to you, and you responded with, "You can't get any dumber than this."
Yeah,
and I told you to stop saying that because the woke mob is taking that as a challenge.
Sure. So one of the things, what's really dumb about the whole thing is that, like, you can care about things like if you see if there are any disparities, and you begin to investigate those and develop theories as to why these things may be. That doesn't mean you've gone woke. Some people will use it as a thing to say, "Oh, you're woke." I don't buy into that, right?
Yeah.
Like, I've looked into some of the things that really bother me, like, and I've told you before, like, I'm sensitive to veteran things, right? One of them being after World War II, black people were not able to utilize. There was some type of program that enabled vets to buy homes, and it's a fact that they kept black people from being able to utilize that. And I think that's immoral because I have biblical reasons to condemn it.
Right.
And so I can look at that and say, well, this is not right. Now, some people would say, "Hey, you're woke." Like, no, I'm not being woke. I'm just trying to look at the data and see what happened and see, hey, are there ways that we could try to remedy that now, today? That's not being woke. Here's a good example of what it means to be woke.
Right.
Are you ready?
Well, I've already seen it, so
Okay, okay.
I know what's coming,
All
but
right.
I don't know if anyone else is ready.
This lady. Now this was tweeted out by Chris. I can't remember his last name. He is All Things Theology podcast. He's a Reformed Baptist. I think he's a rapper as well.
Okay.
Have you seen some of his stuff?
No, I
Yeah.
guess not.
No, he is.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
He released that song called "I'm Black," and it was total mocking.
Okay.
He
I
was
don't know
mocking
if
all of the woke people.
Okay.
And
I don't. think
he made them mad.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, he's a Reformed Baptist. So he tweets this out, and that's why I saw it. This lady says, "White people culturally appropriated suicide."
Mm.
For s-
My eyes are wide open now.
yeah. White people culturally appropriated suicide. For some cultures, it was a respectful way to ensure life ends on a high note and not die of old age. Now it is taken by white depressed teens, and it is made to be something completely different.
Mm.
And I said, like we can't get any dumber than we are right now. You know what I mean? It's so bizarre.
Yeah.
But this is what I think this is the kind of thing that Elon Musk was talking about when he says it's a mind virus.
Yeah.
Like it infects minds
Mm-hmm.
and then it spreads to other people. So I kind of started investigating this idea of a mind virus because, we've talked about on here. I think transgenderism is a mind virus.
Mm-hmm.
It's a social contagion that
Yeah.
has spread rapidly over the past just 5 years. Like it's bonkers. Even homosexuality, all of this stuff, past 10 years, you go 10 years with that, it's a rapid spread.
Mm-hmm.
So I was kind of intrigued. So I kind of looked up mind virus. And I found out the mind virus idea was coined by Richard Dawkins. He's an evolutionary biologist. So I thought maybe we would just talk about it. Now, he kind of was, his specialty is genetics. So, how a gene is replicated through the body.
Mm-hmm.
It is reproduced through your DNA reproduces in your genes spread. So he came up with this idea of a meme. So like it's like it's the idea. It's the idea of how an idea gets transplanted into a mind and then replicated and spread to another mind.
Okay.
People have been critical of it, like on scientific grounds, like I guess sociologists and stuff. But he came up with it with the idea to use as a weapon against religion, because he said religion is a mind virus.
Okay.
So I thought it'd be interesting for me to read these to you, his descriptions of how religion is a mind virus, and then let's discuss if it actually holds any water. But then what I think is interesting is how, now just because he tried to come up with this idea to use against religion, I don't know that he's necessarily wrong on way things like wokeism have spread and transgenderism have spread.
He's been critical of like the transgender stuff, hasn't he?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure he has been. I'd have to look up a particular instance, but I'm pretty sure he's been criticized because he hasn't bought into all the woke stuff.
So he'd call people like me and you, and probably most of you listeners that believe in Christ, that are Christians. He says we have a mind virus.
Okay.
And he calls them faith sufferers. Like you're suffering from a virus, George. Okay. So here's what he says. Here's some components. He says it's impelled by some deep inner conviction that something is true or right or virtuous, a conviction that doesn't seem to owe anything to evidence or reason, but which nevertheless the believer feels as totally compelling and convincing. You got that? Impelled by some deep inner conviction that something is true or right or virtuous, a conviction that doesn't seem to owe anything to evidence or reason, but which nevertheless the believer feels as totally compelling and convincing. So you don't have any evidence,
Right.
or there's no reason or logic to why you believe this, but nevertheless you feel it's totally compelling and convincing.
Okay.
What do you think?
Yeah. I would say that he's got a secular
Right.
interpretation of what faith is.
Uh-huh.
And the idea of faith is, for the world in general, is there is no reason, there is no logic, there's no evidence that I should believe something, but
Uh-huh.
I'm going to anyway.
Yeah.
I always think of that scene in The Last Crusade. You know, Indiana Jones he's trying to get to the Holy Grail because his father's been shot. He's got to get to it.
Yeah.
And he comes to this chasm,
Uh-huh.
and he's told that you got to walk across it. Right?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Well, there's no like he will walk off into oblivion, right? Well, when he walks off, there's an invisible bridge.
Right.
That I think that's how the world views faith.
Right.
Like there's no evidence, there's no reason, and I'm just gonna. It's called the leap of faith.
Right.
I think Kierkegaard maybe coined that. I could be wrong. But that's not the biblical. That's not the biblical definition of faith. Faith is the assurance of things hoped for. Like we're not hoping for something that may or may not be there, that may or may not be true. We have assurance that it is true, and we believe what we've been told.
Right.
Right. So it's not an inner conviction of something that we have no reason to believe. There's no logic. There's no evidence. We have plenty of reasons. We have plenty of evidence for why we believe what we believe.
Right.
And topping the list would be the resurrection.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that'd be my first.
Yeah.
My first answer.
Trustworthiness of scriptures, how they can stand up to scrutiny like no other text.
I mean, you've got
history.
a guy who is believing that everything that we see and hear and taste and touch came from absolutely nothing.
Well, that's what I was getting ready to get to. I was getting ready to get to that. It's like he's blind to the fact that
Right.
if you want to talk about what is most logical to believe,
Right.
his worldview fails at the most important, the place of origin.
Right.
He cannot account for why there is anything at all.
Yeah.
If the explanation is that everything came from nothing, that defies all logic.
Right. That is not a logical answer at all.
And not just that, the origin of biological life. Even if you okay, let's step into their evolutionary theory. You can't account for the beginning.
Right.
They still can't account for it. There is no scientific explanation for how life began.
Yeah.
They don't have one. They have to believe it just happened. Now, the statistics, people have run the statistics on the universe and the fact that we could just end up with a planet like this, with an environment like this, and that life could just come from nothing magically. Yeah. And the statistics are astronomical, like beyond ridiculous.
Right.
So to where any reasonable person that is using, he says reason, would reject it. But yet he holds to it firmly.
Yeah.
So I would say he's been infected by a mind virus.
I've got to look up who said this. They said something like to believe that everything came from nothing is to believe it's the same level of logic as believing that a magician can pull a rabbit out of a hat. Except there's no magician and there's no rabbit and there's no hat.
Yeah. Sounds like something Sproul would say.
It does sound like something that Sproul would say.
So I'd say Dawkins has been infected with a mind virus.
Yeah.
According to his own standards.
Right.
And of course, obviously, this applies to the LGBTQ movement, which I've told you in years past, I read a lot of literature about, is there any evidence for that are you actually born gay or not? But transgenderism, it is in direct conflict with even that belief.
Yeah.
The whole thing is in conflict with itself, but transgenderism is clearly a mind virus.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Right.
So here's the second one. Ready? The believer typically makes a positive virtue of faiths being strong and unshakable, despite it not being based on evidence. Okay, just more of the same we just talked about.
Yeah.
There is a conviction that mystery, per se, is a good thing. The belief that it is not a virtue to solve mysteries, but to enjoy them and revel in their insolubility.
To which I would ask him, where are the transitional fossils?
Yeah. Right.
Isn't that the big mystery for
Sure. Yeah.
for Darwinian evolution? Is that over millions and millions of years, there's been small little evolutionary steps that lead to interspecies evolution,
Right.
and they say, well, there's there's the fossil records will show that there's transitionary
Yeah.
fossils. There has to be.
Yeah.
Right. You have to have those fossils of the in between.
Mm-hmm. Where are they?
Where are they? There are none.
Mm-hmm.
There are none. And even the ones that they have thought they found, like the different kinds of from like Cro-Magnon to Homo sapien, like some of the transitions, a lot of those have been proven false.
Yeah, I think they've recently said that Cro-Magnons were just they're humans.
Yeah.
Also, Cambrian explosion.
Mm-hmm. It's a mystery.
It's a mystery, guys.
I mean, they have
been
no,
saying
they
that.
have no explanation for it.
You know, Darwin himself said, if they don't solve the Cambrian explosion, my entire theory is void.
Yeah.
Here we are.
But I mean, it's the tail wagging the dog, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like he's going to hold on to this theory with just the assumption that, well, we'll figure it out,
Mm-hmm.
instead of waiting for the evidence to prove the theory right. And still going back to the very beginning, how can something come from nothing?
Mm.
There's got to be some kind of mystery. There's got to be some kind of mystery how time and chance can produce anything. And it contradicts all logic.
You know, the mystery today and for geneticists is, how does DNA know how to operate, right? So your DNA actually folds on itself in time. And so the question is, as the DNA is doing its thing, how does it know when to fold and when to unfold and when to link together? Like, where is the DNA getting its information from?
Yeah.
It's just a mystery, George.
It's a mystery. Yeah.
It's a mystery. Now, they'll continue to look for it, but it'll be like trying to create life in a bottle.
Mm-hmm.
They'll never get to the bottom of it.
Right.
All
And
right.
Even if they did, they would.
They'll just say that.
All they would be able to prove is that intelligent life can create life.
Yeah. George,
that's all that they can do.
George, as Dawkins would say, we're probably just seeded by aliens.
That's right.
All right, here we go. More. There may be intolerant behavior towards perceived rival faiths. In extreme cases, even the killing of opponents or advocating of their deaths. Believers may be similarly violent in disposition towards apostates or heretics, even if those espouse only a slightly different version of the faith. That's a mind virus. Definitely don't see that in wokeism.
You never see that with atheists like
Right.
Dawkins.
I know.
he's never attacked
Never.
religious people that he disagrees with. Yeah, you don't see it in the woke community at all.
Or or in the LGBTQ movement. Never.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. No, that's not to say that there hasn't been violence. I mean, there's violence in religious groups for sure.
Of course.
The whole conflict over in India and Pakistan is, in some part at least, the product of conflict between Buddhists and Hindus and Muslims.
Sure. I mean, this
You
behavior
go
that
to
he
the Middle
described-
East. I mean, this can be true of religion, but
It's true of a lot of other
true
things.
of a lot of things.
It's just
Right.
true of human behavior in general.
Yeah.
Rival tribes.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People don't need any excuse to do this type of thing to each other.
Yeah. Why do that tribe on that island
Mhm.
off of India, why do they just kill anybody that gets close to them?
Yeah.
Well, I guess they have a mind virus, Jay.
Yeah. All right. The particular conviction that the believer holds while having nothing to do with evidence are likely to resemble those of the believer's parents. I think that's a decent. This is a decent description of the type of religion we don't want our kids to have.
Mm-hmm.
Like we don't want our kids to have the same, like to believe the same things we do, just because this is what my parents believed. We want one day for their faith to become their own faith.
Right. But at the same time, God has built into the family this role of the parents teaching the kids.
Mm-hmm.
So I do teach my kids
Right.
my faith.
Mm-hmm.
I do want them to believe it.
Right.
But so is Dawkins.
Right. Yeah.
So are woke parents. This is just the way that God has designed the world. The
Yeah.
role of parents is to teach their kids. And what are they going to teach them? What are we going to teach our kids? Are we going to teach them something contrary to our faith? Of course not.
Well,
But you have to own it. You do
Sure.
have to own it. They do have to come to a place where they say, I believe it because my parents taught me, but I don't only believe it because my parents taught me.
Yeah. Well, I think one thing to observe is this, like you said, this obviously is just what happens, because are we really to believe that the child of atheist parents
Right.
are free from this? They just get to go,
Right.
you know, I am just an observer of all things of,
Right.
of the world.
We're all neutral.
Yeah, I'm an observer of all things of the world. Yeah,
Right.
they're not going to grow up with
Right.
with some type of prejudice toward people that believe
Yeah.
things, that have
it's-
faith.
Yeah, this is just the way that the world works.
Yeah. All right. If a believer is one of the rare exceptions who follows a different religion from their parents, the explanation may be cultural transmission from a charismatic individual. What do you think of that? So your kid grows up and becomes a believer of, Buddhist or something.
Mhm.
They're a Buddhist, so they encountered some charismatic leader
Mm-hmm.
who convinced them.
Yeah.
I would say all he's doing is observing the pattern of how most people
Right.
latch on to ideas.
Mm-hmm.
So not necessarily this idea of this mind virus, which I got to read more about it, because apparently people have been very critical of it. In the secular world, have been critical of his understanding of the way ideas are transmitted. He's just observing how ideas get transmitted.
Right.
A lot of time there is a charismatic leader involved.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Think Billy Graham.
Mm-hmm.
Why do people like Mark Driscoll's church so much? Well, it's because he was a charismatic leader.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So you had people, latching onto that.
But to say that this is a characteristic of religion alone
Yeah.
is dishonest.
Well, why do so many professing Christians go to college and then
Right.
become secularists?
Yeah.
Become atheists?
Mhm.
Well, because they may have encountered a charismatic teacher, and they were impressed with that teacher, and that person had a great deal of influence on them away from their parents. So it applies. It goes either way.
Right.
I mean, this would probably apply to Dawkins himself,
Mhm.
as he lectured on his evolutionary biology at Oxford or wherever he is. How many professing Christians did he convince to become atheists?
Right.
Maybe he's a perpetrator of a mind virus.
That's right.
Right? Maybe he's spreading it. He's
Yeah.
a contagion.
Uh-huh.
So, anyway, this is just interesting to think about. I
Mhm.
thought maybe we could just discuss it.
Yeah.
The way that the secular world and Dawkins would look at it. But what I do think is interesting is how it can capture some of the phenomenons we see on how some of these things are spreading
Yeah.
so quickly through culture.
Right. Right. Well, some news broke yesterday.
Do we have time to discuss it?
Yes.
Okay.
We have to talk
Okay.
about it.
All
You just
right.
talked about a mind virus, Jay.
All right.
Biden's administration is going to wage war against those mind viruses.
Oh,
Jay.
what do you got?
Biden administration creates disinformation governance board under Department of Homeland Security
Oh, no.
to fight misinformation.
Oh man, that is so bad. They actually read 1984 and said
This sounds good.
this is a great idea. That's the Ministry of Truth.
Yeah, we got the Ministry of Truth.
That's the Ministry of Truth,
It's
man.
being set up here in America.
That is
under
so
the Biden
crazy.
Administration. Yeah,
It has to be
Disinformation Governance Board.
That's got to be
It's gonna fight
dismantled immediately.
Misinformation. So the Department of Homeland Security is setting up a new board designed to counter misinformation related to Homeland Security with a focus specifically on Russia and irregular migration.
What?
I don't know what that means.
Migration.
Irregular migration. The person who's put in charge is oh goodness, where did that come from? Okay, the person in charge is Nina Jankowicz. I put her information up there on the screen. So she's going to head the board as executive director. She previously was a disinformation fellow. Can you imagine having that as your job title? At the Wilson Center, advised the Ukrainian Foreign Ministry as part of the Fulbright Public Policy Fellowship and oversaw Russia and Belarus programs at the National Democratic Institute. Guess what she thought was misinformation?
What?
The Hunter Biden laptop.
Oh, shocker. Wow, can't believe it.
Yeah. So this should be interesting. This should be really interesting to see.
That's
what,
dangerous, man. That
what
is a
happens.
dangerous thing.
Yeah.
I think that the Hunter Biden laptop thing ought to show the world how absolutely dangerous that they can be. They want to be able to engineer. They want to be able to engineer what the narrative is for the public.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're doing.
Right.
Think of it exactly like that. How you would have some engineer would create a bridge or something. They want to be able to engineer the way the public thinks.
Yeah.
And that's how they did with the Hunter Biden laptop story. Of course, Twitter was involved, Facebook too. I mean, they suppressed the truth because we know it was the truth now.
Right.
Well, but they suppressed it.
It's
as
amazing.
disinformation.
It's amazing how we were told that the social media was not influencing the election. And now that Elon Musk is buying Twitter, everyone's like, "Oh, freedom of speech is under attack."
Right.
It's so bizarre. But
did you see how many Twitter followers people?
I saw that. Yeah,
just the past 2 days.
Yeah,
like it's like they turned a switch.
It really is
off. That like they had put on a switch to suppress and change the narrative of the. They were engineering the way people thought by shadow banning and by killing stories, and now they turn. It's like they're like, oh, we got to turn the switch off, and then boom, people's followers just blow up.
Yeah. So keep an eye on the Disinformation Governance Board because it is the beginning of your Ministry of Truth.
Yeah.
Popping up in America. I was looking at some of the responses to this Nina Jankowicz's announcement that this was going to be her new job, and one of them was, it's highly likely that we'll have a Republican president in 2024 and 2028. How many of you are going to be as excited when the Republican president installs a new head for this disinformation?
Right.
Anything like this is by nature going to be biased.
They need to just
It's not going to be neutral. Whoever the president is going to put this person in place, and that person is already going to hold to the views of the president. They're not going to be neutral. This kind of stuff is no good. Whether it's Democrat or Republican, it's no good. It needs to be done away with.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
So, yeah, I just wanted to make you aware of that.
Thank you.
Jay.
Yeah.
We're going to be labeled disinformation pretty soon, I'm sure.
And they'll have to put you through reprogramming.
Yeah.
They'll have to put us in a reprogramming school to make us think correctly. Wow. Wild stuff.
They're going to tell you, Jay, the ministry of truth is going to tell you that going to a white guy from Nebraska is where you're going to find the best sushi. You just
No.
wait. You
And
just wait. You just wait, brother.
and
You just
they'll
wait.
ma-
You'll be
and-
going to a re-education camp.
And they'll re-educate me, and I'll come out believing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Some truths just can't be changed, though, George. You know?
Yep.
You got 3 over there left, I see.
Well, I didn't want
You
to.
better get on it.
I didn't want to pig out.
All right, let's shut this thing down. How about that?
Okay.
All right, thanks for listening today. Free for All Friday. We like to have a good time. Hopefully you had a good time with us. Hopefully you were able to think through some things, gain a little bit of better way of thinking about things from a biblical worldview. That's our goal and our hope as we go through this. Have a good time. Help us to become more conformed to Christ. See you next time.